Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Live with Thrive. I am going to make sure everyone can view our event this evening. So take a moment to please drop into the chat where you are tuning in from. And we're going to make sure that all of our streaming is up and running. All right. Looks like we are up and running in all locations. So, again, welcome everyone. Excited to have you here for tonight's episode of Live with Thrive. Tonight's episode is Breaking Free from the Superwoman Syndrome: How Black Women Can Embrace Vulnerability on Their Journey to Thrive. So, this evening, I am so excited to have a guest here with me, Miss Donshay. As we get settled in this evening, again, invite you to first comment the city and state that you are in currently. And then I want you to maybe tag at least three Black women that you think could really hear tonight's message. Again, I am Dr. Allison Harris Welcher, the creator of Thrive Life Coaching, and I want to welcome to the stage Miss Donshay. Hi, Donshay.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Welcome. I'm so glad to have you here on our Live with Thrive episode. Miss Donshay is the founder and CEO of Melanated Audacity, a service that provides virtual assistance to Black women. And tonight, she and I will have a very thoughtful dialogue about the Superwoman Syndrome, what that is, and how you can put down that cape. I think she has some amazing strategies that she'll be able to share. Miss Donshay did share with me this evening that she is enjoying that beautiful yellow cloud of pollen in Georgia, but she may need to step off camera just to make sure that she is cleared up. But we're thankful that you're able to join us here this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, we're going to start by just getting to know you a bit. And in honor of Women's History Month, I have some women centered questions to ask you. So, who is a woman that has inspired you the most and why?
So I hate to sound cliche, but I have to say my mom. I'm going to tell you why,
Okay.
because she is one of those rare people that still kill people with kindness.
Oh,
So in this world of like frustration and judgment and there's so many things to be angry about. My mom literally just still does the work. She's just randomly tipping people, talking to people, hearing their stories. She's a kind person and consistently, no matter what she's going through, remains kind. And she also taught me to strategize and to plan for everything. So
mm,
I was younger, she's like, well, what would happen if this? What would happen if that? And so that part kind of helped me to get to where I am now. So
I
that's my
love it. I love it. Well, shout out to Miss Donshay's mother. Maybe she's listening. But thank you for sharing that story and the woman who has inspired you the most. Can you share a lesser known story about a woman from history that you admire?
So I have a woman, and I'm so sorry. It's not necessarily someone from history, but it is somebody that I think it's very, very important that people hear about. Her name is Dr. Hadia Nicole Green, and she's a physicist and an innovator. So she's pioneering a cancer treatment, and it's called targeted laser therapy.
Okay.
And so she was just looking for a more effective, less toxic treatment for cancer. And the work she's doing there has proven to be it's showing great results in like preclinical studies. And I stumbled upon her one day on accident. And then as I started researching her and following her research, I just was blown away. She also is an advocate for diversity and inclusion, of course, in STEM fields. So encouraging young girls everywhere to get into the STEM fields as well. So she's someone that I think more people should know about.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, and there's a lot of amazing Black and brown women in the medical field just doing phenomenal work. So thank you for bringing that name to us. And say her name just one more time so that folks can maybe research her and learn more about her.
It's Dr. Hadiya Nicole Green. So HADIYAH, Nicole Green.
Nicole Green. Awesome. Thank you. And so my next question is, in what ways do you think intersectionality adds depth to the narrative of Women's History Month?
So I would say intersectionality in Women's History Month is similar to adjusting a camera lens to focus on the different aspect of each woman's story. So race, class, and sexuality, and just recognizing the diversity of their backgrounds and the unique challenges that they overcome.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Now, this next question will be obvious to us, but not to others. So we'll let it out the bag after I ask the question. But what impact did attending an all-women's college have on you?
Everything. It was absolutely everything. It empowered me to embrace my voice and capabilities as a woman that I was not privy to before. Being surrounded by the amazing women that I did go to school with, it taught me a lot about, the stereotypes and things like that. And I developed an appreciation for like every type of woman. I mean, you look at movies and you see X, Y, and Z, but then when you meet people and you see how complex people are, you really grow a huge appreciation for that. There's a sense of sisterhood and camaraderie. I will say a majority of my clients have actually come from the college that I attended as well.
Yeah. And so if you're wondering, or maybe you already know, both Miss Donshay and I are proud Spelman College alumni. We are Spelman women. We did not know each other while at Spelman, but as any Spelman woman can tell you, the bond and the sisterhood is real. It does not matter where we go across this country, across this world. If we meet a Spelman woman, we love on each other and we support each other. So if there are any Spelman sisters out there, encourage you to drop those blue hearts like we do, just to show us a little bit of love and support. So thank you so much, Donshay, for letting us to get to know you just a little bit better. And so by way of just jumping us into the conversation, I always like to start with a bit of a problem statement and just a framing. And so for many of the women who are out there listening this evening, I know that you've likely felt the pressure to always be strong, to never show weakness, especially as a Black woman, right? To just have it all together. And this is just such a common experience, and it's often referred to as the Superwoman Syndrome. And as I was publicizing this live, I actually used Karyn White's 1989 hit, "I'm Not Your Superwoman." But I want to make sure folks know that this is actually research, right? Like there's actually research out there about the Superwoman syndrome and strong Black woman syndrome. And this really encapsulates a cultural expectation for Black women to embody strength, resilience, and self-sufficiency without allowing ourselves to be vulnerable in any way, shape, or form. And it's so much like carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders, but also smiling through the struggle. And so if there are some Black women out there who are feeling this, you can give us some emoji praise hands. But this is just, it's a real thing. You're not crazy. You're not imagining it. This is very real. And as researchers have looked at this Superwoman syndrome, they note that it's not just a stereotype, it's actually a survival mechanism. As you noted earlier, Ms. Donshay, just, the lens of being a Black woman, right? So race, gender, you add on class, all of those things just add layers to what we experience in society. And so, this idea of trying to be resilient and self sufficient really becomes a way to confront and navigate all of life's adversities. And so it's a cape, right, that we put on, right? It's the armor we put on to like go into this world. And while that might give us the strength to endure, it is actually becoming a burden, and it's causing a great deal of mental and emotional health issues for us, as well as physical issues as well. And so we really want to take some time to understand this phenomenon a little bit more, and the impact that it has. But more than anything, we want to really think about how can we put the cape down, right? What things can we actually do to break free from this grip? And so hopefully that gave, our listeners just a little bit of background. All the things we talk about on Live with Thrive, are very real, things that are impacting women, Black and brown women who are facing motherhood, womanhood, and career. So let's jump right into some questions. I'd love first, Miss Donshay, to just share a personal experience when you felt the pressure to always be strong and resilient as a Black woman.
I would say one that kind of pops in my head, and it's I don't think many people know this about me, but I used to work at a auto repair shop a long time ago, and of course the only woman and the youngest by far. And the guys would get hurt, and just it wasn't a big deal. So they would have like little small, like, maybe I hurt my finger or something like that. So I actually damaged my eye like really bad, to where it was a different color, had a surgery and all that. But because I felt this need to, like, I can't feel weak, I must be, strong. I can't, stand out more than the guys. I got to keep it, there. I didn't really know what to do. I just kept going to work for a while, until my mother actually was like, you should probably get that looked at. But just again, in that same spirit of being like, nope, because I didn't want anyone to label me as, weak, or, I wanted to represent or continue being strong. And so it was just an instance where I just unfortunately didn't take care of myself, just due to that stigma.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. And we can, right, ignore some real pain, right? So that is being inflicted upon us as we go through this journey of life. And so you no longer work at an auto shop, right? You have transitioned careers. And so share with us, your background and motivation behind your current work in creating Melanated Audacity and being a virtual assistant.
Okay. So I tell the story quite a bit. And it basically started with a sugar cleanse. I had been on TikTok, and, this guy was talking about doing a sugar cleanse. So I was like, I'll try it. So I think about the fourth or fifth day after I got through the headaches and the, like, staring at all of the sugar in my house, I got this crazy amount of focus. And I sat down and I said, well, I'm gonna write a blog. And so I started a blog post, and then it actually turned into a book. And so I wrote this book, I published it on Amazon. Again, just being super focused and, hyperfixated sort of on this situation. I published a book, and I shared it in a Facebook group full of Spelman women. And everyone was like, oh, we love the message. It's great. It's amazing. And the conversations just kept going. And then it finally, someone asked me, well, what else do you do?
Yeah.
I do a lot. And the more I started talking and people were asking questions, it kind of became, you should be a virtual assistant. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So then I jumped on a platform and started providing services. And I remember the first time I posted it, and immediately, like, no, go back, change your pricing, double it immediately. And I'm
Yeah.
okay. So it was, that was kind of really the encouragement to push me forward.
Yeah.
And then after that, I just got my own website and kept it moving.
I love it. I love it. So, Melanated Audacity exclusively serves Black women, right? This is your primary audience that you're wanting to support. And so, talk a little bit about why it's important to focus on Black women. And then, in your experience, how do you see that Superwoman Syndrome manifest in their lives?
Um, so I focused on Black women because I recognize the Superwoman stereotype.
Yeah.
I lived it, so did most of the women in my family. And then during COVID, which is kind of when I got started, there was such a beautiful uprising and acknowledgement of Black women, like our accomplishments, our struggles, just like us. Like we were kind of really being seen and seeing each other. And there were conversations being held all across TikTok and different platforms. And I noticed that women were struggling in areas that I considered super like things that to me were second nature, but to these women it was kind of breaking them and just overwhelming them. So that was kind of my main reason for focusing. I'll say that the impact of my services, one really amazing example is my very first client. um, she came to me with an idea, only an idea and a name, and I supported her. She built her business, I mean, down to pricing, her systems, her logo. Like I supported her through the whole thing. And then at this point now, she is currently out in the world supporting Black women, helping Black women with their mental health. And I always tell people, if I had only had that one client, it was worth it, just
Wow.
because the impact of what she has done and how it kind of has a ripple effect. And so my other clients, I mean, senators, judges, stay-at-home moms,
Yeah.
CEOs, entrepreneurs, like everything. And as I support them,
Yeah.
there's a ripple effect and they can pour into other people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's exactly why I do what I do.
I love it. I love that ripple effect of the impact, right? That's really what, this is all about. I don't know if your first client was a Spelman woman, but we have a saying at Spelman, women who change the world, and you yourself are changing the world, and you helped her to go out and change the world as well. That is amazing. And so some folks might be wondering, like, what exactly is a virtual assistant? And like, how can a virtual assistant help me? Folks hear about, executive assistants. They think they're only for like CEOs, or you have to have some big time job. But, break it down for us. What is a virtual assistant, and what are some of the specific services that you can provide?
So yeah, that's a question that I get, and I see the kind of loss that people have when they come to my site and we have a call and they're like, so what do you do? So basically, kind of the one constant with a virtual assistant is just the virtual part. We're online, we're able to help with things from online. Now, the areas that people decide to help in are different. So some people may focus on social media and that's all they do. Some
Mhm.
people may focus on, I don't know, something else.
Right.
I don't really have a particular focus. I just focus on Black women. So
Okay.
I help with personal and professional, but any task that you can think of that I can do on a computer, and some that you would be surprised that I can still handle from a computer, such as I serve as a catering manager for
Mhm.
a restaurant in California. I serve as customer support for a major hair care company. I collaborate on household needs. So you got warranty problems, you need repairs, you have questions about maintenance, trying to hire vendors, um, booking lessons, identifying camps and
Mhm.
activities for your children, passport appointments. That
Yeah.
is my big thing. I don't know why, but so many people get to me and they're like, oh, I need a passport. Please, what do I do? So I kind of pull in everything together and just make it as easy as possible. So everything that I can do to take stress off of my clients and to take a
Yes.
task from my clients, I will do that.
Yeah.
And again, even some clients, I've told them, hey, I can help here, but if you need assistance with your kids, et cetera, let's look into a family assistant, which helps
Mhm.
inside the home.
Yeah.
And I can be the liaison for the family assistant.
Yeah.
So it's a huge gray space of, what different people can do as a virtual assistant.
Yeah.
But me, myself, I try to do everything that my clients, need. And if I don't do it, I'll definitely find someone who can.
Awesome.
Just
Yeah.
be a Black woman.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I can attest to that. So I have been a client of Miss Donshay's. And so I actually remember the moment I reached out to you, that somehow it had become the week before my son's second birthday. And I had not quite nailed down where we were going to have the birthday party. And he has a summer birthday. And I think I was just going back and forth in my head. It's going to be hot. Folks don't want to be outside. We need somewhere inside, but it's summer. People, we want to be in the water. What are we going to do? And so I put that stress on myself, waiting until the last minute. And in talking with Miss Donshay, she actually helped me come up with a master schedule, if you will, for every birthday in my family unit, including my in-laws, my parents, my family, and scheduled me out. Hey, you need to identify a location 3 months ahead of time. You need to send invitations, and those are all now mapped out on my calendar. And the level of stress release that I have from that is amazing. So certainly, again, can attest to Miss Donshay just allowing, her skill set to shine, and then certainly referring. So shout out to Takia Lamb, who has helped me build my business and website. And that was a referral right from Miss Donshay. You're full of referrals now that I think about it. Jamie Bennett is helping some girlfriends and I head on a great 40th birthday trip. So Miss Donshay is the person you want in your life. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Now, how much I'm smiling right now was not how I was smiling when I reached out to you. And so I'd love to hear, Miss Donshay, when clients do reach out to you, what do you find they are feeling and experiencing in that moment?
I would say there's two clients. There's one that comes prepared and she knows, she's like, hey, I've had an assistant. I know what it entails. This is what I need.
Yeah.
It's about 25% of my clients. 75% of my clients come in and they're like, girl, I don't know what to do. It's too much. The kids, the house, like, what do I do? They're overwhelmed. They're anxious. A lot of people feel uncomfortable asking for help. They don't know how to ask for help. They don't know what I can do. And it's hard because there's no specific list. You're like, well, can you do this? Typically I'll say, yeah. And if I can't, again, I'll help you find somebody else. But people coming into the call with me, they have no idea what to expect. So I get a very vulnerable side of people, and I really appreciate it, and I don't take it for granted.
Yeah, yeah. And so you mentioned this idea of vulnerability, and I do want to connect it back to Superwoman Syndrome. It's something that we don't often allow ourselves to be, right? This idea of asking for help or to showing ourselves like, I don't know how to do this or even where to start. In what ways do you think just that connection of talking to a Black woman or a woman of color helps in that moment?
It's a big one because I think my discovery calls are, honestly, it's a vibe check. So as I'm speaking with a client, I'm kind of getting a feel for them. I'm very honest. I'm very transparent. I'm not someone who dresses up. You may catch me drinking my water. Like, I'm very honest about who I am, and I present myself that way. I don't come with a judgmental face. I don't come with money on my mind. I come with what's going on.
Yeah.
How can I figure out what you need help with? But then a lot of times there's the simplest thing I found is that a majority of my clients come in, and if they need a vendor or if they need childcare, whatever it is that they need, and they come to me and I'll see them and they'll go, well, I would kind of prefer a Black woman. And I go, that's where we start at. And so just taking kind of that mental load of feeling uncomfortable of saying what their preferences are. I come to the, hey, I've been where you are. I feel you, sis. I got you. I got you. We go get us a Black woman. We see, we see what's going on. And a lot of the times there's a curiosity or like a wondering of, well, I need a hotel, but I need a nice hotel. Oh no, I'm bougie about my travel. About my travel. I got you. And so, just kind of being able to be myself, Black woman, and just relate to, like, I see you. I know where we're going with this. You don't even have to say it. I think you can appreciate that, because if you go elsewhere, and not downing anyone, but it could become complicated and uncomfortable. And in that moment, in that phone call where you're already vulnerable, asking for help, you need to feel 100% comfortable in what you're asking for, to your standards and your preferences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Now, this concept of outsourcing may be unfamiliar to some of our listeners. And so can you explain what it means to outsource and how it connects to the services that you provide?
Yeah. So outsourcing, basically just hiring a company or a person to handle things that you could do yourself. The difference is it typically will save you money, or it's more efficient. My entire business is outsourcing. I'm the person that you would outsource things to. So of course you could schedule your own dentist appointments for the entire family. But allowing me to complete that for you, it takes that off of your plate. And then let's be honest, we all know it's not as simple as, hey, Tuesday the 3rd. No, hassle back and forth with the dentist. You may have to provide them information. There's questions. There's, always something going back and forth. So all of that back and forth, initially you're like, oh, I just make a quick phone call.
Yeah.
That 5-minute phone call for one of my clients actually turned into 2 weeks of trying to find the right person. And once we found the right person, she was like, that was a lot. And I said, yeah, but you didn't have to do it. I got you, so you can focus on something else and trust that I got you in the back. So that's the outsourcing side of things, is just being able to say, please take it. Please take it. Let me do something else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so as you shared that example, it was perfect. For many of us, there might be some hesitancy with having a virtual assistant because you're saying scheduling. Well, that means you got to have access to my calendar, right? You got to know some things about me. You got to have some information. So some folks might be thinking, there's no way I'm going to share all of my business with a stranger. That's a security risk, right? Or I'm too overwhelmed to even figure out what I need help with, something you mentioned earlier, or probably the most common, and people won't admit, it's just they don't know how to ask for help. And so what would you say to folks who come to you with all of these reasons and hesitations to hire a virtual assistant and really to give themselves some breathing room to just breathe, not even to do anything else, but just to breathe?
Yeah. Which is a common thing that I tell a lot of clients. I'm like, chill. We got it. So I did a series on my own little social media, and it was a long series, and it was really talking about how Black women don't typically get the support that they deserve.
Mhm.
And so in my opinion, like you said, it comes down to trust issues, financial worries, and then not knowing how to get that help. So I try to speak to all of these things on my website. So when people come to my website, I made the whole thing myself. It's not perfect. It's not the best, but you can really feel who I am through my website. I put my heart into it. One thing that I tell all new clients, trust is earned. I don't expect you to log in with me and like, oh yeah, give me your credit card. I'm going to do such and such. Nope. I will even recommend, hey, let's start small.
Yeah.
Where are some things? How can I help you? X, Y, and Z. For clients who may need me to handle financial things on their own, on your side, you'll feel, more comfortable. Okay, she's only got access to X, Y, and Z, and then she can make the purchases on my behalf. I'm not insulted by that because I started off doing the same thing with my assistant. I was like, look, all right, take my little card, do my little stuff. And so I just build the trust through the smaller tasks.
Yeah.
And then speaking to the finances, I try my best to scale my offerings when I can. So I have a large package that's 20 hours. And then for some clients, that may just not work for them. But if I see someone who's like, I legit need help, I don't even know how I'm going to do it, I can either, again, refer you to another VA that I know, because I know quite a few, or I'll say, hey, look, instead of doing 20 hours, let's start with 4 hours. And let's see what we can accomplish with the 4 hours. And we prioritize and get systems into place. That 4 hours goes a lot further than people realize. So that's a big one. In terms of not knowing where to start or how to ask for help, that's probably, and I don't mean this in like a funny way, but it's kind of like my favorite thing that people come to me with, because on the discovery call, I allow you to simply I just say, let's just jump into it. And most people who are coming to me are filled to the brim with like, this is making me mad. I got to do this. And I just let them talk, and I take notes, and I, ask them some questions. And at the end, I kind of can go through, and I'm experienced enough where I can tell them, okay, so you're asking for this, but you may actually need this. And I'll walk them through kind of a really high level game plan of how I can assist them. Again, if I can assist them, how can I find somebody for you that can assist you? So everyone leaves with some sort of knowledge. Nobody leaves empty handed. So I try to speak to every single one of those concerns on my discovery call and my website.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for just breaking that down, because again, it's one of those things that folks don't ever reach out to a virtual assistant because they're hesitant to ask to even start. So they don't ask these questions. And so thank you for just sharing that. We're coming up on the end of our time. So I do want to jump to kind of our final question. And so as we conclude this discussion on empowering Black and Brown moms to thrive in womanhood, motherhood, and career, what is your recommendation on how we can thrive and to break free from Superwoman Syndrome?
Yep. Simply put, delegate. Find a way to get comfortable with it. I have a how to delegate guide that I'm going to put on my website after we finish this call. And just learning how to delegate. Delegation is self-care. I say it all the time. And that's just it. It relieves your mental load, and you can kind of literally thrive.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. So, Ms. Donshay, thank you so much for sharing your incredible insights and experiences with us. I do want to share, I believe your mother joined in on us. So I didn't want to share during the interview, but I did have a chance to heart her message. She was very heartfelt by your acknowledgement of her. But thank you so much. It's been an honor to have you here. And let the folks know how they can find you on social media or learn more about your work. I'm going to flash your website up here as well.
Okay. So I'm consistent. It's at Melanated Audacity, everything. TikTok, YouTube, IG, Facebook, everything is just at Melanated Audacity. And it's a unique name. I've done the work. So no one else has that name. So you can't miss me once you find
Awesome.
it.
Awesome. Well, Ms. Donshay, thank you so much for your time this evening and really helping us to understand a bit more about the Superwoman Syndrome and that there are ways that we can truly put the cape down and get some breaths of fresh air through support and being vulnerable through work that you do as a virtual assistant. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you all for joining this evening. I'm so grateful that you continue to support Thrive Life Coaching. We hope to continue to have sessions like this to just bring you insight, wisdom, reflection, and hopefully a space to really reflect on what it means to thrive as a Black or Brown woman in womanhood, motherhood, and career. Thanks so much for joining us and hope to see you again soon.